Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this week's Webinar Wednesday. Today, we will be discussing the creation of cached maps in GeoSyncGO. This is an extension of our management series. A brief look at the agenda, what we'll be discussing. First, we'll talk about we'll actually define what cached maps are. Talk a little bit about what they are, why we need them, how we can use them, that kind of thing. Then we'll actually get into creating the cache maps and a couple different methods. And then we will talk about deployment of the cache maps. So let's start off talking about a cache map. In general, a cache map is a copy of something stored for retrieval, in this case map data. Specific to GeoSyncGO, we will be capturing image tiles and storing them basically by view level. They'll be organized by zoom level, if you will. The cache maps in GeoSyncGO, as they're organized, will provide a mosaic map image. They're typically stored locally, or they can actually be stored in your cloud account. So now, why do we need cache maps? Well, as you may or may not know, the default background imagery in GeoSyncGO are derived from online image services. So you have to have an internet connection, and you have a list. I mean, there are a few different sources, but you are limited on what imagery you can have as a background. When we cache a map, one thing it does is actually makes the map display a little faster, particularly if it's stored on the local device. Depending on your internet connection, may not be too slow, but if you have a somewhat slower internet connection, the background image could be a little slow, but the cache makes that a lot faster. Also, if you want to use GeoSyncGO Desktop or mobile in a disconnected situation where you basically have no internet connection, this will give you a background, your background map, whereas you could not use the standard background imagery because you would have to be consuming those from an internet source. And also, cache maps, you can customize your own background, have your own custom view of your background map. And you could even, with some of the tools, one of the tools we'll see, you'll be able to create a detailed static map if you want. And where these can be used, basically the GeoSyncGO cache maps can be used in all the GeoSyncGO applications. In GeoSyncGO mobile on any device, Windows, iOS, or Android. Of course, on GeoSyncGO Desktop, and we can even utilize these. They can be pushed out to where you can use them, consume them in the GeoSyncGO web map. The tools that we'll use to create the cache are there are a couple different ways we can do this. And it really depends on which tool you use. Depends on the source of your image that you want to capture. In GeoSyncGO Desktop, you have access to these standard background maps. Your street background, which is basically MapQuest and OpenStreetMap, the satellite imagery from MapQuest, OpenStreetMap, and the custom the custom background, basically the local, like I mentioned before, the local map tiles or the web map tile services, such as the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet base map, the street base, Tennessee base maps, USGS Topo, basically those services that are already published, and we would in GeoSyncGO Desktop that we could, or published that we can consume in GeoSyncGO Desktop as a standard. The other way, and basically in GeoSyncGO Desktop, when we cache, we'll utilize one of those sources to cache a copy of those maps to use as a background. The other method is using GeoSyncGO Tile Builder, and Tile Builder you will consume a map view or a map project that you've built in ArcGIS Desktop. So what we would do there was just open your MXD. So your map would consist of the map view from GeoSync or from ArcGIS Desktop. So let's get into the first method. Basically, the GeoSyncGO, caching a map from GeoSyncGO Desktop. And I'm going to go through the steps here first, and then we'll actually go to GeoSyncGO and look at those steps. But first, what you would need to do is, of course, determine your image source. And in GeoSyncGO, you would either select your street view, map view, your satellite view, or one of the custom tile views. The next step, once you decide that, you would identify the area that you want to cache, the area of that map. And then you can further specify or just further define that area using filter boundaries. It's pretty much a heads-up digitizing or drawing a polygon in GeoSyncGO Desktop map view, utilizing the draw filter boundary tool. From there, we would excuse me. Or you can use, not only can you draw a filter boundary, you could also create a filter boundary if you have an existing polygon layer in your GeoSyncGO project. You can actually select that and use it as your filter boundary. The next step would be to select the area that you want to cache, including the filter boundary if you use one, and that's done by using the Alt, a right click, and drag a window around the area to be cached. From there, we would actually build the map tiles in GeoSyncGO. First, you specify a name for your cache, or you can also select an existing cache to be updated. Then we would select the zoom levels that you want to build the cache for, because basically you'll build a cache view for each zoom level that you define, and then select whether to use the filter polygon. If you actually built a filter boundary, then it'll recognize if you have one, and you can either use that or turn it off. And then also select whether or not you want to overwrite the existing tiles. If you're updating existing cache, you can either overwrite what's there or just append new tiles to the set. So now let's go to GeoSyncGO and see these steps. So here is a project that I have open in GeoSyncGO. We refer to it as MapSync Village. It's the area around our office. I mentioned the first step was to determine what the image source is that you want to use. And those, of course, we're on the street view now. And we also have our satellite view or our custom view. In this case, I think I have my custom view set to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet base mapping. And I'm having an issue with refresh at the moment. So, well, in this case, I'm going to use the custom map, and like I said, I have that set to the Kentucky Transportation, the base map service. So now I want to identify the area to build the cache. In this case, I want to draw a polygon around the 2 or 3 block area here around our office for my custom cache, if you will. So I go to my map tools, filter shapes, and draw a filter boundary. With this, you simply click the corners of the polygon that you want, and the last point you double click, and it displays that area. Now, I've got a hint on here. Is for this to finish this, you have to close the filter boundary, the draw filter boundary. When you do, it'll actually be a bold red line. That is the specific area that I've asked that I want to define, that I want to have for my cache. I want to actually filter down to this area. The next step, we would actually select the overall area for the cache. And this is the one where you actually click Alt and then you right click and drag a window, release. So this is the area. If I don't use the filter, my cache will cover this the windowed area. So I have an option. I can either cache the entire window here, or I can have it filter down by this filter boundary. So, and in GeoSyncGO at this point, like I said, we're going to actually cache this image that we see on the map, the one I have selected. So from here, I go to my Manager Tools and Build Map Tiles. This opens the Build Map Tiles dialog, and from here, the first thing you want to do is either name or select your map cache folder, because what's going to happen is all of the cache tiles, all of the cache is going to be stored in a named folder. In this case, I'm going to call this cache demo. Or if I had an existing, I could actually drop this down and select a different cache set to update. But in this case, I'm going to actually do a brand new one. And you see here on it's the filter for polygon found. It actually found that we had created a filter, so it knows it's there, and I can either use this filter or I can turn it off and just do the entire window area, which I'm gonna let it filter. If this were a new cache folder, an existing cache folder, I may want to overwrite the tiles. If I select this option, then it will rewrite, or it will store every tile. With this off, it will only add new tiles, new images. So at this point, I need to select the levels, or layer levels, zoom levels, if you will, that I want to cache maps for. And if you notice here, all the levels, zoom levels match up to the zoom levels in GeoSyncGO and Google and all the online mapping services use this format. Here on this column where it says estimated tiles, this is an estimate based on that window of how many tiles it will take to create the cache for that level. The closer you get, the closer you zoom in, the higher the number of tiles it takes to fill that area. This can get rather large as you get in really close. Depending on the level, you're anywhere from 3 to 4 times. You multiply 3 or 4 times for each level you increase. So if I went from a 15 to a 16, I go from 6 tiles to 16. So the number of tiles grows. And that will be dependent on how large of an area that you cache. If I did an entire county, a large county, say like here in Fayette County, it would be in level 18 or 19 would be in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of tiles. So keep in mind, the bigger the area and the closer you go, the more files and the larger the file size. For this purpose, I am going to just do, say, 16, 17, and 18, and we'll look at what that means after it builds the tiles. So I've given it a new name. I'm going to have it use my filter polygon. It's new, so I don't have to worry about overriding tiles or not. I'm going to do these, create these 3 levels. So at this point, I click Cache Tiles. This one is a very small area, so it goes pretty quick. If you're doing, like I mentioned before, an entire county and going pretty deep, it may take several hours. It may be something you want to let run overnight. So it just depends on how much it is, how big it is, you know, the area, and of course your processing power as well. So it tells me here I'm finished with building this cache. Click OK, and from here I can just close this dialog. I am going, so I can show you, I'm going to back to my filter shapes and clear that filter boundary. Now I already have this project set up for my local map to show the cache that I just made. I've already set that up. So if I select local, I'll have to zoom in a little before they come on. So there is the tile. There are the tiles I built for level 16. As I go in, there's 17. Let's get back over here. We can see, and there is 18. So it's basically captured that the custom map view. These are actually tiles that have been captured. Now it's stored those in a folder in my GeoSyncGO folder, cache folder, so they can be copied to other devices or across the network, however I want to use that. So now let's look back at the PowerPoint list, and let me get back to the correct page. So here we want to look at the other method. In this case, we want to use GeoSyncGO Tile Builder, and as I mentioned, this is one where we can actually capture the map image that's created from our ArcGIS desktop project. For this one, before we can actually capture the image, we do have to identify the area to be cached using GeoSyncGO Desktop. We'll have to go back to, we'll go to GeoSyncGO Desktop and use our map tools to create a filter shape if we want. We'll use our define our specific area with the filter boundary, and then actually select that with the window. But in this case, in GeoSyncGO, we're not going to actually build. We're not going to build the tiles. We're going to specify a grid of that area, but we will still give a name for that cache. We'll select the zoom levels like we did before, and use the filter polygon or not. But again, the key here in this one is this time we're not building the tiles from GeoSyncGO. We're going to build a grid that refers to those tiles. So in building the tiles, we'll switch over to GeoSyncGO Tile Builder. We'll open the ArcGIS map project. We've got our MXD. We'll actually select that as our map source. And then from there, we'll select our cache folder name. We will select the levels to build from Go Tile Builder, and then at that point we can actually apply additional filter boundaries if we want in settings too. I'll show you where that is. So we could actually, what that means is we can actually have a polygon drawn in our ARC project that defines the area that we want to filter, and we actually select that layer and apply it to a level. At that point, we basically run the program, and it builds our cache maps. So I will switch over to our tile builder. Sorry, take a moment. Actually, we'll go to GeoSyncGO first. Okay, so now we are back in. Go back to get away from my cached view. We are back in GeoSyncGO, and this time we want to actually build a grid. to tell Tile Builder which tiles to capture from our GeoSync or from our ArcGIS project. And in this case, I'm going to throw a loop in it here. I'm not going to use a filter shape this time, because I want to use a filter shape that I have. I want to filter the tiles using a polygon that I have in my ARC project, so you can see that. So this time, all we want to do is capture or define the window area. So I'll do my Alt, my right click, show my window. So this time I don't have, I don't have a filter, so I'm going to build a grid for this window that Tile Builder will use to capture the images. So there's my grid, and now this time when I go to my tools, I don't want to build map tiles. I'm going to build my tiles from my ARC project. So this time I just want to build a map grid. But in the same way, I can give my folder name. We'll call this one Cache Demo 2, and select the levels. Let's do 14, 15, 16, and 17, just to make it quick. And you notice this time I did not draw a filter polygon, so these are all grayed out. We don't have a filter polygon. So at this point, if I select an existing cache folder, I can clear the existing grid if I need to, or otherwise, at this point, to build a grid, it's as simple as selecting build grid files. Now you can see again, similar to the build tiles, you have an estimate of the number of tiles that will be these areas will create. Let's go with another one. Once I click the build grid, it says they're okay. I've got my actual number of tiles here on the right, which was close to my estimate, should be in this case. So now it's actually built a grid for Cache Demo 2. I can close this. So just to recap here a little bit, I go to GeoSyncGO Desktop, select a window. In this case, I did not filter it. I'm not filtering it from here. I didn't filter my grid. You could. Just depends on what you're building. Went to my build map grid tool and had it build the grid. So now at this point we get away from we get out of GeoSyncGO Desktop and go to GeoSyncGO Tile Builder. From here, I want to open the MXD that I've created previously that has the map views that I want to cache. So I simply go to File, Open, or I can click the Open folder. And I'll select my MXD and open it. Takes a couple seconds to open that. I wanted you to see what the program looked like blank. So it actually opens that MXD. This is actually built on Arc Engine, so it will utilize your ArcGIS license. So it actually opens, and you have the list of your layers, your legend there. You actually have a view of the map, so you can say, "Oops, that's the wrong one," or "I need to change." At this point, I mean, you have tools you can zoom in and out on this map. But what we want to do now to create our tiles, we want to go to the folder name and find the tile that the cache that we're working on, and this was Demo 2. Notice I have several in there. It gives me my list of levels, zoom levels or view levels. So I want to build my cache tiles for all of these levels, or I can leave some out if I want. It's up to you. If you have if this were an existing cache, you would probably want, you have the option of overriding those tiles like we do in GeoSyncGO Desktop as well, but you can override those or not. Same way. Now, as I mentioned, this one I didn't do my my filter. I wanted to utilize a polygon that I have in GeoSyncGO. Here, I've just got a polygon layer. It's called GeoSyncGO filter. It's turned off because I don't want to cache it. I just wanted to have it available, so it will not. With it, whatever's turned on is what the cache will grab. So I've got my filtered boundary turned off because I don't want to see it. I just want to utilize it. If I go over here to settings 2, I have a list here of the polygon layers. There's my GeoSyncGO filter boundary that I want to use. And I want to apply, I may not want to apply that to every level. I may only want to apply that to 17 and 18. So I've had my filter selected, click on my level, and copy it to that. I can also use that for 18. So I basically tied that filter boundary to a particular level. I go back to Tools. Again, I've opened my art project. I've selected the cache folder for the name of the cache, which levels I want to cache out. And in this case, I've used a filter to filter this by. So the 14 through 16 will cache tiles for the entire area. For 17 and 18, it's going to filter it down to this one block, or a couple block area. At this point, I click Run. It will go through and process each level, and this will display here in this box which level that it's working on. And you'll actually see it'll zoom around to not every. It won't zoom to every tile, but it will give you occasionally give you a picture of a view of the tile being cached. This might take a little too long to run all those. So there's 17, it's working on 18 now. May not be too long. But as you can see, these are actually, that's a view from the ArcGIS map view, and that is what it's actually capturing for each of those tiles that it puts together the flat mosaic of that actual level. So it's finished, gives you a report on how much time it took to do those. Let's click OK. That cache is complete. It's ready to utilize. Now, we talked a little bit about. I had on here too. I don't have another page for this, but we had mentioned deployment of the cache maps. The two cache folders that we created will be in with the rest of our GeoSyncGO files under Documents, GeoSyncGO, and everything with GeoSyncGO Desktop will be located under this GeoSync Desktop, GeoSyncGO Documents, GeoSyncGO folder, and the cache files are actually under Cache. So here is the first one we did from GeoSyncGO Desktop. There's the folder for that cache demo project. There's a folder for each level, and each of those folders has a folder with images. So there are all the images for level 16. 18, as you can see, the deeper you go, or the closer you get, the more files you'll have. The grids that we created, well, let's go to this one. The grids we created on these CSV files are basically a grid file. That's what we initially created, so we could utilize that to build the tiles. Now, to utilize these cache maps in GeoSyncGO, you can actually, there's a couple methods. The first thing would be to actually copy these files or these folders to the same folder on a device. Say if you were going to copy to someone else's desktop, you would copy, say, our cache demo. We would copy this folder and its contents to the same folder on the device or the desktop the desktop or laptop that we're going to. It would be documents, GeoSyncGO cache. If you're taking these to want to deploy these to a mobile device, say a tablet, we have instructions on iOS. It's a little different. You have to actually use a third-party program to manage the copying of the data, but it basically you copy this cache data to the GeoSyncGO application folder. And similar with Android. Android is a manual copy. You can actually store it on a thumb drive if you want, or a memory card if you want, or directly on the device. The other option, I won't go into a lot of detail on this one, but the other option would be to actually push our cache map out into our cloud account so we can consume it through an internet connection. We can actually add it as like a service. That is done from our published layers. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Lost my train of thought. Wrong publishing button. If you go to Cloud Tiles, select Publish Map Tiles. Select your cache folder. GeoSyncGO Demo. Pick the levels that you want to publish. Basically, use this tool to publish that actually to cloud storage. That way, from GeoSyncGO Mobile or the GeoSyncGO web mapping application, you can specify that that URL or that cache map as your background instead of copying it to an actual device. So, back to that's the beginning. In summary, what we've done is created a cached map to utilize for a background or for an entire map that can be consumed through GeoSyncGO Desktop, mobile, or web map, either directly copied to storage on the device or copied to our GeoSyncGO cloud storage to pull in with a data connection. The two methods of creating the cache, you can create the cache maps directly from GeoSyncGO Desktop utilizing the imagery there, or you can use GeoSyncGO Tile Builder to create your cache tiles from a ArcGIS desktop map project. So that's all I have. Thank you for attending, and appreciate everyone coming out. Thank you.